All right, just saw a video mentioning the rules of engagement. So, rules of engagement. All right, first off, infrastructural damage for the sake of infrastructural damage, not okay. Second thing, doing anything possible to go ahead and, actually be able to safely remove and, relocate any potential civilians, that could end up being confused as, potential, you know, uh, enemy combatants is absolutely mandatory. Civilian loss is not acceptable and could lead to, a global conflict that could end up having to go ahead and be answered on a global stage. All right? That would be called a war crime. Another rule of engagement: you are not allowed to use incendiaries. All right? So going ahead and, for example, flamethrowers, not allowed. You know, charbroiling humans, you know, that's not allowed. All right. Also, when it comes down to negotiations, you need to understand that time is always going to be of the essence. All right. Every second that ends up going ahead and having an action could end up going ahead and leading to the loss of life of either, you know, the person that's being used as a bargaining chip or a hostage. All right. You're going to need to do whatever you can to be able to save any hostages. That's, behind enemy lines, and remember, what's enemy lines to you is home to someone else. All right. You are also legally, it's also not allowed to go ahead and conscript prisoners of war, and enlist them into your ranks in an attempt to go ahead and have them being used as the front lines to be used as human shields. All right, that's the starting of it. Not to mention that you do not fire unless fired at. All right, not to mention that when it comes to airstrikes, you are legally not allowed to call for an airstrike on an active combat zone where there's, boots on the ground. So, yeah, rules of engagement. Oh, also, you are not allowed to force sterilization on somebody on the, you know, suspicion of them potentially, being a sympathizer, terrorist sympathizer. That's called eugenics or forced sterilization. That's considered a war crime. All right? Now understand, the breaching of any war crimes, anything that ends up going against the 1945, Bill of Human Rights, as well as the 1964 Civil Rights Act, would end up going ahead and qualifying, for a, global warrant for their, seizing and capturing, and ultimately would end up making you one of the most sought after fugitives on the planet. So think of FBI's most wanted, but throughout the entirety of the world, where every country will hunt you down like a fucking animal. At that point, you're going to want to make sure that you got Elon Musk on speed dial to, get the fuck to Mars. By the way, that was a joke, obviously. Point that I'm making. There are certain things you don't joke about. There are certain things you don't talk about. There are certain things when it comes to experiences that it is reasonable, the certain aspects of don't ask, don't tell. All right. And ultimately, try to do what you can to be able to preserve the memory of, you know, the loved ones that end up going ahead and getting left behind. Because ultimately, war in Vegas, there are some similarities in a certain aspect. And ultimately, you're going to want to respect the culture of wherever you end up being. Because remember, you're a representative of your country when you go ahead and have to go and, take part in some things that ultimately are some of the most depraved, inhumane things you could ever fucking imagine. So, that being said, just let's stick it out there just so that way it's remembered. So, for anybody that likes joking around, I understand having a dark sense of humor. I mean, you see how the fuck I cope in general. Because trauma is trauma. Where it stemmed from is irregardless. People just need to stop stigmatizing post-traumatic stress disorder and automatically assuming that it's from an active combat zone. Alright? And ultimately, there are some circumstances where grudges that end up being formed and won't be let go of are justified. What you choose to do with your life, with your money, with your freedom, which could be lost at a moment, just like your life. Just make sure that what the end result is only of consequence to you and no one else. No one's going to co-sign your bullshit.